Alright, Shalom. First and foremost, I want to start this lesson off by giving all the praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Ba'ashem, Yahweh Shai, Ba'ashem, Rakakwadash. Double honors to the apostles and elders, a great millstone. Honors to our brothers who are fervently pushing the word in sincerity and in faith. And Shalom to all the sincere believers. Now, this lesson is going to be based on this volcano eruption, or this earthquake surge that they say could lead to a volcano eruption. So through the Spirit, I'm going to read this article, get some precepts, and Lord's will, you're edified. It says, massive volcano eruption is imminent amid earthquake surge, leaving major U.S. city on high alert, scientists fear. Seismic activity levels on Alaska's Mount Spur soared to March levels earlier this week, sparking fear that an eruption could be on the horizon. Earthquake activity beneath Mount Spur remains elevated, the Alaska Volcano Observatory warned in a May 28 report. Following a steady decline from late March through April, shallow earthquake activity has increased in the past 2 weeks to March levels of about 100 events per week. And while the advisory assured that the likelihood of an eruption continues to gradually decline, the 11,000-foot volcano remains at an elevated state of unrest, meaning that an explosive eruption is still possible. So we're not out of the woods yet by any means. Matt Haney, a researcher with the Alaska Volcano Observatory, told Alaska Public Media there are still earthquakes happening at Mount Spur. However, an AVO report on May 29th found that while low-level unrest continues, no changes have been observed in the monitoring data to indicate that the volcano is moving closer to an eruption. He said if an eruption occurred, it would be preceded by additional signals allowing warning. If an eruption were to occur, it would likely send a spout of ash shooting as high as 50,000 feet into the air, Haney previously told the Daily Mail, adding that the resulting cloud could cover the neighboring city of Anchorage. Spur has been on officials' radar since April 2024 when they observed a spike in seismic activity. By October, the rate of tremors had soared from 30 per week to 125 per week. The recent return to those levels has raised alarm bells. Meanwhile, a gas measurement probe from May 23rd found that emissions were slightly lower, but within the uncertainty bounds of those measured during the last gas analysis on April 24th. They wrote that CO2 values from the volcano's vents remain at above background levels, which could indicate the presence of magma underneath the surface. However, AVO noted these levels were similar to the readings in 2004 and 2006, a similar period of activity when Spur didn't blow its stack. So Alaskans likely won't need to batten down the hatches just yet. The pause in deformation suggests that the shallow intrusion of magma over the past 17 months has stalled, according to the agency. This intrusion of magma could still lead to an eruption, but gas and earthquake activity do not clearly indicate an unstable or pressurizing system. A spur eruption, the AVO said, would likely be nearly identical to eruptions in 1953 and 1992, which involved explosive events that lasted several hours and produced ash clouds that traveled hundreds of miles and rained ash across south-central Alaska. The latter year's explosion notably blanketed Anchorage with ash, causing officials to shutter the airport. A possible spur eruption, which would likely originate from its side vent called Crater Peak, would also cause mudslides and avalanches of volcanic debris and ash to roar down the mountain at 200 miles per hour. That fortunately, there are not any communities in that radius that would be affected. Yeah, so times are just becoming more and more dangerous. Just like the men of the Lord have been saying and continue to say. 2 Timothy 3:1, this know also that in the last days perilous times shall come. And that's right, dangerous times. Very, very dangerous times. You're going to have more volcano eruptions, more earthquakes, more tornadoes, more hurricanes, more wildfires. It's only just going to get worse. And there's nothing anybody can do to stop it, because this is the will of the Lord. Isaiah 29:6, thou shalt be visited of the Lord Yahweh of hosts with thunder, and with earthquake, and great noise, with storm and tempest, and the flame of devouring fire. And like they said, there's been an increase in seismic activity. There's been an increase in earthquakes happening, which could lead to volcano eruptions. It could also lead to tsunamis. Hey, the Lord really ain't messing around when we tell people that we are in the last days and that these things are going to increase. We're just talking about what we're seeing, and also what the scriptures have been saying would be occurring in these last days. Matthew 24:7, for nation shall rise against nation, and kingdom against kingdom. And there shall be famines, and pestilences, and earthquakes in diverse places. And when you look up the definition of diverse, it means many or multiple. And there are clearly earthquakes happening in many and in multiple places across the world. And that in itself is signs of the times. 2 Ezra 9:1, he answered me then and said, measure thou the time diligently in itself, and when thou seest part of the signs past, which I have told thee before. Verse 2, then shalt thou understand that it is the very same time wherein the highest will begin to visit the world which he made. Verse 3, therefore when there shall be seen earthquakes and uproars of the people in the world, which there are plenty of both, earthquakes happening all throughout the world, and uproars of the people in the form of protests. Verse 4, then shalt thou well understand that the Most High spake of those things from the days that were before thee, even from the beginning. Verse 5, for like as all that is made in the world, all that is made in the world hath a beginning and an end, and the end is manifest. Verse 6, even so the times also of the highest have plain beginnings in wonder and powerful works, and endings in effects and signs. And all of these earthquakes and things going on with volcanoes and the tornadoes and the lightning storms and the torrential rainstorms and the wildfires, all of these things are signs of the Lord bringing judgment upon the earth. And those of us of the hopeful elect understand that. Meanwhile, all these simple-minded people who are not paying attention have no idea what's going on. And like I've said before, those will be the same people that get caught up in these judgments, because they're not being circumspect. They're not paying attention. They're not watching the news, So when these events happen, when volcanoes erupt and earthquakes hit and tornadoes happen, a lot of people get caught off guard because they were never aware of what was going on. And that's a problem for them. Proverbs 22:3, a prudent man foreseeth the evil and hideth himself, but the simple pass on and are punished. And through the spirit of Yahweh B'Shem Yahushai, those of us of the hopeful elect, we are wise, we're prudent, we're circumspect, we're paying attention. So we're able to foresee the evil and hide ourselves by cleaving unto the Lord, knowing that because the Lord is the one bringing all these judgments upon the earth, he's the only one who can protect us from these judgments. Meanwhile, these simple people out here who are just caught up in folly and wickedness and nonsense, they're passing on in the sense of, just not paying attention, and they're getting punished by getting caught up in these judgments. And that is the work of the Lord. See, the Lord can either put the Spirit on you to pay attention and be aware of what's going on, or he can have you out here in complete ignorance, without a care in the world. And then, like a thief in the night, the judgments come upon you and consume you. And that's how majority of people are gonna die. Majority of people out here are gonna die because the Lord has placed a very ignorant spirit on them. Where these people, they're not even trying to pay attention to what's going on. So there's a lot of people, if you went outside and asked a bunch of people, hey, do you know what's going on in Alaska with the volcano? They wouldn't know. They wouldn't know because they don't pay attention. They don't read articles. They don't watch the news. They don't know any of this stuff. They don't know about the earthquakes that are happening. They don't know about the fires. Unless it's happening to them specifically, a lot of people just don't care. And that lack of caring is what leads to a lot of people's destruction. Just living in that bubble of ignorance. But at the end of the day, those people are the ones that the Lord is not dealing with. Those are the people that the Lord is going to destroy anyway. So it comes as no surprise that those people are the ones whom are just walking around here in darkness. But yeah, seeing as we're in the last days, the Lord, he's going to turn up these judgments. It's going to get a lot worse. There will be volcano eruptions, and there will be a lot more devastating earthquakes and tornadoes and hurricanes, because we are living in the last days. Those of us of the hopeful elect, we just have to remain circumspect and remain prayed up. So with that, I'm going to wrap it up here. In closing, I want to give all the praise, honor, and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashim Yahweh Shai, Bahashim Rakakudash, the Wadi Yahweh Bahashim Yahweh Shai, for putting the spirit on me to do this lesson. Double honors to the apostles and elders of Great Millstone. Honors to all the brothers who are firmly pushing the word in sincerity and in faith. Shalom to all the sincere believers. Hope you all stay strong, stay safe, stay fervent, stay circumspect, stay prayed up. Adawa Ratazah. Till next time, Shalom.